I'm Saad in southeast London, and very shortly my colleague Gregory will be joining us. It's gone 6:11 p.m. We have made a late start. We normally start at 6 p.m. So I can't quite explain what happened there. And I apologize for our late start. Welcome, Gregory. How are you doing, and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine and it is cold.
Same here in London. Very cold today. Started as a freezing, although temperature was in minus, but I could feel anyway. But definitely the car windscreen was frozen. So yes, and it's been feeling cold, very cold, I would say. So welcome, listeners, to this spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth. The Grail Message by Abdushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic for tonight is be conscious in the present and experience. It's quite a mouthful, so I'm going to repeat it again. Be conscious in the present and experience. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we are discussing tonight is be conscious in the present and experience. Be conscious in the present and experience. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Gregory, as you know, and listeners, I always like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic in the dictionary. So let's see what it says this time. So again, the topic is be conscious in the present and experience. The first word there is be. So there I found the meaning, 2 meanings. The first one, it says exist. Gregory, what do you say about this word exist when we talk about be?
That is appropriate.
That's good. And the second one, in the dictionary, for the meaning of the word be, is occur or take place. How about this one?
Strictly speaking, the first one encapsulates everything.
Okay, that's fine. Now let's continue. So the next word we have is conscious. Again, the dictionary gives us 2 meanings. The first one, aware of and responding to one's surroundings. What do you say to this one, Gregory?
That is very helpful.
Okay, that's not good to know that. And the next one, it is having knowledge of something. That's conscious. Having knowledge of something.
You can see that's not strong enough.
Okay, let's, we just use it, as you say sometimes, Gregory, it's a pointer. So let's continue. The next word I've picked from the topic is present. So there I've got, again, 2 meanings. Present, that is, I'm looking at this meaning, I'm not quite. Oh, apologies, listeners. We got cut off with our connection to our Blessed Radio. I'm now just bringing Gregory also back into the to our connection. So just one moment, please, listeners.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we lost the connection with Bless Radio, and now we are back. So apologies again, listeners, for that cutting off. And again, also apologies for our late start tonight. We were about 12 minutes late. Okay. So, Gregory, we were talking about oh, okay, Gregory's gone on hold, but I'm still here, so I hope we can we just make sure that he's. Just want to make sure, listeners, that Gregory's still around. Okay. I'll sort it out in a second. Let's just focus on what we're doing now. So that is be conscious in the present and experience. That's what we are saying, which is the topic for tonight's discussion. I looked up in Google AI the phrase "be conscious in the present and experience," and it came up with to be conscious in the present and experience it fully. They say practice mindfulness through activities like focusing on your breath, engaging your senses, reducing multitasking. This involves observing your thoughts, feelings without judgment, accepting the isness of the moment, and consciously engaging with your surroundings and activities. By doing so, you can reduce stress, improve focus. Okay, so somehow, let me just do something. Apologies, listeners, I need to add Gregory back to the call. I seem to have lost him. So hopefully he'll join us now in any moment. Gregory, you're back now?
Yes.
Okay, so apologies for that. I was just reading the meaning of the phrase, be conscious in the present and experience. I typed that in Google AI, and it gave me the following words, you can say, or description. It says, to be conscious in the present and experience it fully. Oh, it's giving some advice. It says, practice mindfulness through activities like focusing on your breath, engaging your senses, and reducing multitasking. This involves observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment, accepting the isness. I think the isness means what is there, what is, of the moment, and consciously engaging with your surroundings and activities. By doing so, you can reduce stress, improve focus, and experience life more richly. So, Gregory, I know there's a lot of words being said there. They've given some, let's say, practices. They call this, one of them, it says mindfulness. The other one is about breathing, engaging your senses. Let's just look at those ones. So, Gregory, does that help to be, as they say, be conscious in the present?
The context of Google AI or whatever AI is different from the context of our program. That which Google AI is dealing with is restricted to the world of matter, albeit the earth. Our context is basically not only the world of matter, but the laws of nature, the laws of creation, and the laws or the divine laws. So our framework, our context is very different, or is more evolving than what Google AI is able to do, because it was designed basically for that which it's able to pick out, that which other people have done, and is accessible to it. Therefore, it cannot give you what it does not know.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Actually, I can even say in the news today, I think it's the CEO of Google himself has said, don't rely on Google AI or AI to give correct answers. So that's coming from the boss himself. So we can see there's a limitation there. So, and you have already referred to our program, the context of our program is to cover a wider area than just this world of matter. Yes, it's important, but it's not the whole picture. So we have to go not only with the world of matter, but the world beyond the world of matter too. Which, of course, our show is called Spiritual Discussion Program. So they always have a spiritual aspect or focus in our show, which, let's say, the world of matter doesn't, it's only, how can I say, doesn't go too much into the spiritual. Let's say it's a different world, the spiritual world. So, but in any case, we will continue. So again, just to remind ourselves, so we won't put too much into this Google AI, let's say, definition. We are saying be conscious in the present. And I'm going to break it into two, an experience. Let's just look at being conscious in the present. So if we try to understand that, present means what is going on right now, and being conscious. So Gregory, and conscious is about awareness of our surroundings, and whatever is going on. So that makes you wonder, what is it, the ability that allows you to become, give you being conscious? So we are aware, Gregory and listeners, that there are five senses which work in the material world, and then that gives us this like a sensing of around this world of matter. But we are saying we also have to look at the spiritual or beyond the world of matter. So, Gregory, what other sense must we, to help us with the consciousness, to be conscious around us, of our surrounding, what else do we need apart from the five senses, the earthly senses that we know?
The earthly senses are basically channels. They are adapters to pick up external impressions and channel them to our frontal brain. From there it goes to the back brain, and then it goes to the origin, that which controls the physical body, which is the spirit of man. In the same vein, in the reverse manner, the activities of the spirits, which are expressed as intuitions, first have an impact on the back brain. Subsequently, if it is strong enough, on the frontal brain, and then these are likely to manifest externally. So you find that, strictly speaking, there are three areas that need to be considered when consciousness is discussed. First, the areas of deeds which are perceptible to the five senses. Secondly, the area of one's thoughts. And finally, the area of one's intuitions. Once the impressions are able to have an impact on these three areas, then one may talk about consciousness.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for bringing that picture in front of our eyes. So it's not just the word, well, we already said it's more than the world of matter that we're talking about in this discussion. And now you have given a, let's say, more wider picture of that, which is the deeds, which of course we see them in a physical way. Then we have thoughts, which we do not see, but we know they exist. And then there's this intuition, which many of us, let's say, have an idea that it is there, but again, we can't touch it or see it as such. You know, we call it, there are many words we use for it, gut feeling. Sometimes people say sixth sense, sometimes they say the inner voice. So there are many words to how we refer to the intuition. All of them, let's say, give a good representation there. So, okay, so this is how our consciousness works, you know. Now, before I continue any further, I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio. And this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of this show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is be conscious in the present and experience. Be conscious in the present and experience. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there again, space Grail Message, space the topic of our show tonight, which is be conscious in the present and experience. And after this show, when we finish at 8 p.m., you can listen to a recording of this show also on YouTube. And again, you go to youtube.com and type in the same words in the search box, which are Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space Grail Message, space be conscious in the present and experience. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.fm/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there again. Now, that with impressions into the frontal brain, and that frontal brain then expresses that into our body, which can be speaking with words, you can say, or writing, of course, or moving our body, obviously. These are all deeds. Then we have thoughts. That's also coming from us. And then finally, which is the intuition, which is, you could say, the voice of the spirit expressing itself. So there are these 3 modes of activity, all part of where our consciousness is acting. So we are talking about being conscious in the present. So you would think all these expressions that we have talked about, speaking the words, or doing the deeds, having thoughts, and the intuitions, we are supposed to, they're all part of this activity of consciousness. Now, Gregory, I'm going to say, just listen, I want to say something in a way to give an explanation why this topic we have chosen for tonight's discussion. So let's say I had a personal experience not long ago where I was having an interaction or conversation with another person, and let's say they were saying something which I was not happy, or let's say didn't agree with, you could say, and in my interaction I was not, let's say, acting in a, how can I say, in a positive way. So unfortunately, not that it was an argument, but it wasn't very effective way to communicate. And I was, let's say, upset. That's basically what happened. And then when I expressed my words, I was a little bit, you can say, out of control. And what I said was a little bit, no, I can call it a little bit rude, you can say, and not very a good way to speak to someone. And then after that, I felt uncomfortable. And I felt that's not how I should have spoken. And then I thought about that, why this happened. And then it came to me that somebody said something and I reacted to what they said, rather than, let's say, calmly reflect and respond, and which would have been, let's say, a more amicable discussion. And so, although, as I say, I wasn't rude as such, but it wasn't in an orderly way, best way of speaking. And so you could say there was a bit of guilt in myself. But then I thought about it, and I thought there must. I was conscious that was happening. That's the point. Be conscious in the present, and yet I couldn't change my actions and my behavior. So it made me think that, okay, if you are conscious of something that is happening, which is in the present, then how do you sort of act to keep yourself in a, when I say control doesn't mean in some dominating way, just that you are, let's say, calm and peaceful in the way you act. And then, of course, if you're in that mood of calm and peace, you can say things in a, let's say, easier way, or with clarity, rather than anger underneath it. So, Gregory, where I'm going with all that, and listeners, where I'm going with that, is how to be conscious in the moment and act in a peaceful way, so that the environment that you're creating with the person or around you is also conducive for the other person to respond. So my question really on this now, Gregory, let me just go there, is how can we notice, this type of, let's say, behavior or interaction with someone, and before, let's say you can manifest, you can sense your anger is coming, let's say, Gregory, let's say the example I've given, right? How can you act before that anger sort of manifests and, and make you lose your control, so that you can maintain the calmness and reflectiveness? And I was thinking, could it be, should one pray in the moment, or become quiet? Is there some way that you can act in a peaceful way. Oh, Gregory, are you there?
Each individual is different. However, like learning a new language, the need is there to practice self-control. By self-control, one is referring to that state which the individual must be in to be able to absorb the impressions that have assailed it, and subsequently, under quiet reflection, to know how to respond to it. This calls for constant practice. For if the individual has not been involved in such a scenario in the past, the likelihood is for a knee-jerk reaction. But if that individual has built around itself that environment of calmness, that environment of understanding, subsequently, incidents like that are easily controlled, are easily dealt with.
Thank you for that answer, and you could say a bit of advice in a way as well, of how to, it's like what you're saying, Gregory. We do make mistakes, and things like that can happen. However, as you say, practice, as they say, makes perfect. So if you, especially if this has happened first time, but that was, I will say, yes, that was it. So now, Gregory, there are other practices. Even when we began the show, there was some practice. I know AI was not recommending, was putting forward, like mindfulness, or people here sometimes meditation. So they think of these things, and even I was thinking of prayer even. So would those be helpful, Gregory, as part of, you couldn't call it practice? Would that help you with your state of mind to calm yourself down before you open your mouth?
These are possibilities depending on the individual. If, however, you have an individual who strives to engage with its environment, whether the environment is pleasant or unpleasant, he tries to engage with it, then subsequently its response is not a knee-jerk reaction. Your reaction was such that the trigger was unpleasant. If the trigger or if the motive were pleasant enough, your reaction would have been different. So,
yes,
what normally happens in these matters, whether one says it's meditation, or that which has no impact on the inner personality, on the inner man, which is of spirit, that only stops basically on the thought level. It hasn't had a real impact. Only that which has a real impact on the spirit is useful for the spirit in order to experience and therefore prepare itself for further activities. If in the person's further activities, it encounters something similar or equivalent, you will find that the individual, which is of spirit, having experienced it in the past, would have prepared itself calmly to know how to respond. Even before an individual triggers something, it would have prepared itself to know how to respond calmly. So there is no need for any special meditation or special prayer. Actually, the key thing here is to be watchful. To be watchful externally, to be watchful in one's thoughts, and above all, to be watchful through one's intuition, which is spiritual. Therefore, one can now understand the advice that Christ gave. Watch and pray. Watchfulness, which calls for the alertness of the Spirit, the alertness of one's thoughts, the alertness and vigilance of not only the thoughts of the Spirit, but also of the deeds through observation. These alertness are able to pick these impressions and subsequently to make use of these impressions which the individual has gathered, to make use of them to strengthen the spirit in accordance with the laws of creation. That in itself is the prayer. So in all activities in which we are engaged in, that advice to watch and to pray is key.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for that answer. And again, you could say the picture you're painting for us, where the way we are acting is not in just one aspect or one area, not just like thoughts that we might be having, but there's also the intuition that is also happening, and of course the physical world deeds that we are seeing. So all those things are working together. So we need to be watching, as you say, all of these worlds, and in prayer being alert in that way. So then when those, let's say, in quotes, difficult situation may arise, you can handle it in a very good way, without, in a calm way, let's say, a peaceful way, rather than upset way, where you are not in so much control, and then things are not likely to go haywire. So yes. So thank you for that. Now, yes, I want to. Yeah, okay, I will say this now. In the news a lot at the moment, although it seems to be one topic, but it's constantly there. But it's there's more. Let's say this is the topic just for the most of us those in UK. That is, it's in the daily news that there are these, in quotes, illegal immigrants, refugees, whatever people like to refer to them, crossing over the English Channel from France into UK, and then they seem to be, let's say, giving some privileged treatment of accommodation and benefits. That's how people think, and then so a lot of people are getting upset about it. and the way people have reacted, or the population has reacted, whether it's been stirred up by the press or certain movements, it seems to have become a big issue. And the government is now, let's say, putting forward some new measures, which a lot of people are not happy with. I mean, there's always things that are put forward. Some people are happy, some people are not happy. And the people are stirred up. That's where I'm going to now. And yes, you could say, let's say things have got out of control. Maybe I could say that way. And people are now fed up. That's gone too far out of control, and they're not willing to sort of stop their anger until a resolution has come that they're happy with, has come forward. And when this new resolution or proposal is put forward, some people think, oh, this is like inhumane, disrespectful, and not only that, the people who have come and settled in from abroad into UK here, already here and settled as British, somehow they're having some fear that they no longer feel welcome, which is what in their own country now, which they call home. So there's this very it's a difficult environment of unease in the at the moment. There's other things going on. As I said, there's only one topic, but other things are going on, and people are wondering, is this immigration or whatever refugee issue bigger than all the other issues, economy, and so on, which was supposed to be the bigger issue, and yet this seems to take over in the news. And then I say it stirs people one way, another people another way, and causing this unease. So where am I going there? What I'm trying to say, Gregory, here is that how can one keep calm in this climate of uncertainty and fear? Because we don't know where we are going. It seems one day you're feeling you are in peace, and the next minute a new policy or new law is going to come in, and before you know it, those of us who thought you were happy in peace, living in peace, it now may feel you are feeling oppressed, or maybe you should not be here. So how do you handle this situation, Gregory, with this? Remember, Gregory, government and people are doing things, and you are like one or two individuals or a few people together who might be feeling like a pain, and then you're thinking you can't do much about it. You are probably in a minority, so you can't do much about it, and yet so you feel a bit helpless. So how does one maintain calmness and peacefulness in this sort of environment?
The individual must stand like a rock in the surging sea, which means that only that individual that has matured to such an extent as to know through the laws of nature, the laws of creation, the consequences of these activities, only such an individual can remain calm, for it could see the beginning of such activities and to a large extent the end of such activities. The lack of knowledge which has precipitated due to the personal spiritual indolence, that makes it impossible for the individual to observe impartially. But as soon as the individual strives to understand things within the framework of the laws of nature or the laws of creation, then to a large extent, it is as if fortified in the knowledge that all that is happening, even in the present, before long will find its end, and that individual can already, to a large extent, adjust itself so as not to be thrown off course. If, however, the individual lacks this knowledge, then that absence, which is like a void, makes it too light and will be thrown hither or thither. Therefore, the individual must learn to experience, must absorb all that is in the present, to be able to examine and also to weigh, and then subsequently is able to adjust itself such that it's not swept away through the deluge of the consequences of the behaviors of individuals or government.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer. And like you say, I know you didn't use exactly these words, but like standing like a rock in a storm, which is like a strong, and then you said the key thing there is you need to have a knowledge, which I'm going to ask you more in a moment about that. The knowledge, let's say, of this, what is happening and how the world actually works. So, but I'm going to ask you that in a moment about that before. So before I do that, I want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio. And this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Uprushan. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we are discussing tonight is be conscious in the present and experience. Be conscious in the present and experience. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is I think I've said that already, so let me not repeat that. The other one is, if there's one other way to contact us, which is going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Be Conscious in the Present and Experience. And after this show, you can listen to the recording of this show again on YouTube. I'll just repeat the how you do that. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box the same words in the live show, which are Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which is tonight, Be Conscious of the Present and Experience. Of course, you can also listen to recording of our other previous shows, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM /radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, you mentioned about having knowledge, which would bring us this feeling of peace, no matter what is happening around us. So I'd like to ask you about that knowledge. Is it, what is that knowledge that you're referring to, actually?
Actually, one had mentioned the knowledge of the natural laws, their effect on the activities in nature, and man in flesh and blood, is also included. For that individual in flesh and blood also has a soul, the core of which is of spirit. Therefore, one may also talk about the laws of creation and the activities, the subsequent activities that have been generated through one's activities in creation, the repercussions. All these have to be taken into consideration. Therefore, the laws of nature, albeit also the laws of creation, these regulate the activities of men once they have made a decision. That decision, be it a decision in deeds, a decision in one's thoughts, or a decision in one's spirit, which is referred to as the intuitive perception. That being the case, the repercussions, how these decisions, how these develop subsequently, are well explained in the work, in the light of truth, the Grail Message, such that each individual, if subsequently it is watchful, if it is vigilant in thoughts, in its intuition, and also in deeds, before too long, it will have observed the effects that these laws impact on the environment of the individual. Only through such observations and subsequently interactions. Only through such will one say the individual is conscious. If along the line it ignores any of them, the deeds, the thoughts, or one's intuition, then it's as if it is asleep. It's as if it is unaware. Being unaware means it is not conscious. And that case, or that particular scenario, how do you respond to that which you're not conscious of? You don't even know it exists. Again, that advice given to be watchful and to be prayerful, that in itself is consciousness.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for giving that picture. Even if part of it you have said it before, it's always good to have a reminder, and also when you do that, it gives you more deeper clarification as well. So just repeating doesn't mean that it's like something boring. It's something you can go deeper into it. That's the opportunity you get to know that. So we have talked about these natural laws, the laws of creation, the divine laws, which are working all the time. So when we are interacting with people or the world that we live in, it's happening within these natural laws. And so the Grail message that we always talk about brings that knowledge of those natural laws and how they work, the mechanism, and then also tells us who we are as human being spiritual beings, and also we have abilities which you've mentioned already, Gregory. You know, we have the intuition, we have those 5 senses, the earthly senses, and we need to, this knowledge we are talking about gives explanations about them, how to apply them. So that's why we need this knowledge. Now, in my research for this show, I also, I mentioned earlier about my own experience with, let's say, interaction with somebody where, let's say, I lost a bit of control in my conversation, and I had to reflect, you know, how best to, how can I, could say, do better in the future. So, as I say, in this, there's some, let's say, well-known writer in self-development. His name is Eckhart Tolle, and he's written some books. One of them is called The Power of Now, and I think another one is called Stillness Speaks. So one of the quotes that I found, which is relevant to what we are talking about, he said, when you are fully present and people around you manifest unconscious behavior, you won't feel the need to react to it. So you don't give it any reality. Your peace is so vast and deep that anything that is not peace disappears into it as if it never existed. This breaks the karmic cycle of action and reaction. So in case these words don't make sense to you, because obviously you have to be always think in this spiritual sense to get what is being said here. So if I were to sort of say that, go there, give a little bit more understanding about it, I would say, yes, let's say you are the person who's in a peaceful state and mature state, and then somebody comes along who is not so in like that, and more behaves, let's say, in a aggressive way or something like that, provocative way, you don't have to react. Just because somebody is doing something to you, you don't have to react. And how is that? Why is that? Or how can it be? Because you have your peace, which is so deep that whatever comes to you, towards you, it can absorb that in it, because it doesn't need to react. That's the point. And when it doesn't react, then there's no karma generated. It's just somebody has done something, but since you did not react, the result of that action, this has to be seen as in a spiritual sense, and sometimes it looks illogical, but it's not, because you are interacting with another person, and it's your choice how you respond to that, whatever they come with. You don't have to, if somebody comes with anger, you don't have to respond with anger. You can be calm and peaceful. And that way, you can sort of absorb their anger into your vast peace area. And then that allows you not only to keep the peace there, also it gives you the time of how to respond appropriately, you know. So that's basically what I wanted to share with this quote, which is inspirational in that, somebody comes with an unconscious behavior and you are the conscious one, then you don't need to react. So yes. Now, I want to go. There is a lecture in the Grail Message, and listeners too. I want to share that with you, called "Live in the Present." And there's many things said there. It talks about people who are, let's say, a group of people who live in the past, let's say. So when something happens...
Sounds like you're referring to us.
I'm sorry. Sorry, that interruption. So a group of people, let's say, who live in the past, meaning that something happens and then they reflect on it and then keep thinking about the past. And then something's happening right now with you in the present, and you're still in that moment stuck in the past, reflecting on that past. So you are not present. That's the word when we say present. You're not present to what is going on currently, and so you're not ready to respond to whatever's happened currently because you're now stuck in the past. So that's not, how can I say, a way we are supposed to be acting. So Gregory, can I ask on that, how should we look at the past? Are we not meant to learn from the past? Are we not meant to reflect on the past?
The individual must engage with the past by drawing lessons from the past. But the individual must not remain in the past. For there are experiences, there are activities in the present which requires the engagement of that individual with the impressions of the present.
Thank you. What you're giving me there is like, life, you're supposed to live in balance. So it's not that you should only ignore the past. No, it's happened. You can't wipe it out. Something has happened. So that it means, and the past brings the future in a sense. So the consequences of the past, the actions of the past will bring consequences in the present and in the future. So you can't ignore it. At the same time, you can't dwell in the past. So, and then the present is where you take action now. So obviously, you can't change the past. What's happened has happened. So yes, as you say, Gregory, we can reflect on it, but don't dwell there. So thank you for that. So let me now go about the future, Gregory. So we like to think of the future, like we might have dreams and wishes for our future. So again, how do we handle that one? Are we, what can I say? How should we consider the future? Let's say, how much, you could say, reflection should we have on the future?
Actually, the future is not certain. What has happened is that through our activities, the individual has built structures, has impressions which have been put out there. Subsequently, when these impressions mature, they will flow back to its origin, which is the personality. Therefore, it is what we ourselves have put out there in deeds, in thoughts, or through our intuitions that have returns. So, subsequently, if before those returns manifest, if we have made changes to ourselves, it therefore means that when those returns are to manifest, they may not find the homogeneity, and therefore one will find that the individual experiences something different, or to a large extent, the severity of what had happened in the past will not be as remarkable on his present condition. So the individual must live in the present, where it's able to gather the impressions. These impressions are, to a large extent, what have happened in the past, and also the decisions he or she is making currently. These are the things which subsequently forms the future. So it's as if the past and the future have a connection with the present.
Thanks a lot again, Gregory, for these answers you're giving. What I'm seeing is you just said about the connection, the past, the present, and the future. They have a connection. And so what I see, there's a step, you go, as they say, step by step in life. A child has to, let's say, grow, walk, eat, and whatever the steps are in life, that's how he grows, he or she grows. Going to school, learning words, writing, making sentences, and then essays, and so on and so on. So these are all steps in the journey of life, you can say. And so there's a past, there's the present, and the future, and you can't, so one leads to the next one and to the next one, which is a step. So one can't miss any of these steps. And that's why if you're going to continue making the progress, you can't get stuck on one step. You can't neglect one step or leave one step. At the same time, you can't get how can I say, take all your energy and effort on stuck on one step. But the main thing is we are saying be conscious in the present. So the present is the most important time, because that's where you can do something. You know, the future is coming. You can't make decision. Let's say you can make decision what you're going to do now, but what the future is bringing, yes, it's based on decisions, but that's also mobile. But the only thing that, in quotes, that is under your, if I can use the word control, it's the present. The past has happened. You can't do anything on that. So in a way, all of these things are very logical and clear when you, let's say, concentrate or reflect on it, and it becomes clear. But sometimes we, let's say, get trapped through some thinking that, oh no, we should be here in the past, or maybe we should be dreaming only of not only, but focus a lot on the future. But really, the real focus has to be only in the present. So yes. So I was going to, let me see if I can pick something. Maybe, Gregory, I will just have a little read from the lecture is quite short, so I think it's good that we share that a little bit with in the show. Yes, let me just, before I start my reading, I just want to remind the listeners that you're listening to Blessed Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, that's Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is be conscious in the present and experience. And if you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And then there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And I just want to let you know we're also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of tonight's show, which is be conscious in the present and experience. And you can listen to a recording of the show when we finish the show tonight, 8 p.m. Exactly, again on YouTube, and typing the same words in the search box, which are Bless Radio 1, space, Grail Message, space, be conscious of the present, be conscious in the present and experience. And also you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. And thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's zeno.fm/radio/bless radio 1. That's the number 1 there. Now I'd like to read, as I said, from the lecture in the Grail Message called live in the present. I'm going to read the whole lecture because it's not too long. If you study mankind, you will find that they will fall into different groups. There is one group which lives exclusively in the past. That is to say, they begin to understand an event only when it is past. As a result, they can neither truly rejoice about something that is happening, nor intuitively perceive its full gravity. Only afterwards do they begin to talk about it, to enthuse about it, or to feel regret. And while constantly speaking of the past, either feeling happy about it or lamenting it, they continually overlook present events. Such must first become old and past before they begin to value them. Again, there is another group which lives in the future. They set all their wishes and hopes on the future, and thereby forget that the present has so much to offer them. They also forget to bestir themselves sufficiently to enable many of their dreams about the future to become reality. Both groups, to which the majority of men belong, have not, so to speak, really lived on earth at all. They just fritter away their time. Then there will be men who, on hearing the call to live in the present, will imagine something entirely wrong, thinking perhaps that I would encourage them to relish and enjoy every moment and incite them to live in a somewhat frivolous way. There are more than enough of these sauntering through life, senselessly indulging the moment in this fashion. With this call, I do indeed encourage the full enjoyment of every minute, but inwardly, not outwardly. Every single hour of the present must become a real experience for the human being, sorrow as well as joy. In all this reflection, his thinking and his intuition, he must be open to the present moment, and thus awake. Only in this way can he profit from his life on earth, as it is meant that he should. Neither in his thoughts about the past, nor in his dreams of the future, can he find real experiences so strong as to impress his spirit with a stamp which he can take over with him into the beyond as something gained. If he does not live in the present, he cannot mature, for maturing depends on experiencing only. If during his life on earth he has not always experienced the present within himself, then he will return empty-handed. He must therefore once more wander through the time he lost, because he was not awake and did not gain anything for himself through experiencing. Life on earth is like one step in the entire existence of a man, but so great that he cannot omit it. Unless he sets foot firmly and securely on this step, it will be quite impossible for him to ascend to the next one, for he needs the first as a foundation. If a man will envisage his whole existence as it rises upwards in steps, beginning from this earth and returning to the light, it must then become clear that he cannot reach the next step unless he has stood firmly upon the previous one and fulfilled what awaited him there properly. It should even be expressed more strongly. Only through the complete and absolute fulfillment of each step to be experienced can the next higher one develop itself. Experiencing alone serves to give man maturity, and if he does not fully experience on the step on which he happens to be, then the new step will not become visible to him. because for this to happen, he needs the experiencing of the previous step. Only when he is equipped with these experiences does he receive the power to recognize and ascend to the next higher step. And so it goes on from one step to another. If he keeps his eyes fixed only on the high goal, without paying careful attention to the individual steps leading him there, he will never reach it. The steps which he must build for his own ascent would then be far too unsubstantial and flimsy, and would collapse when he tried to climb them. But there's always a safeguard against this danger in the natural course of events, inasmuch as the next step can only develop after the complete fulfillment of the present step. Thus he does not wish to spend half his existence standing upon one step and the same step, nor constantly to return there. Should force himself always to belong completely to the present, to grasp it aright deep within himself, and to experience it so that he gains spiritually from it. Either will he lose from a worldly point of view, for the first advantage he gains is not to expect either from the people or from the time more than they can really give him. Thus he will never be disappointed, and also remain in harmony with his environment. If, on the other hand, he lives only in the past or dreams only of the future, his expectations will easily reach beyond the compass of the present, which must bring him into disharmony with his time, not only making him suffer, but also his nearer surroundings. It is right to think of the past in order to learn the lessons it teaches, and also to dream of the future to receive encouragement therefrom. But in the present one must do nothing but live fully and consciously. Dear listeners, that was a reading from the Grail Message from the lecture called Live in the Present. So, which basically where the topic of tonight has come from, be conscious in the present and experience. So I just encourage you to pick up the Grail Message and read and reflect what it says and see if it touches you. And just to remind you, if you wish to pick up the Grail Message, then you can go to this website. It's www.grailmessage.com, and I'll spell that again. It's www.grailmessage.com. So Gregory, I want to the last part of the topic, we called it experience, and people might be wondering what is experiencing, because yes, is it just how can I say, Gregory, the earthly time that we spend, what is the experience, Gregory? What because in this lecture that we've just read, it's mentioned that things are when we pass on, we carry some things with us into the next world, and experience is part of that. That's what we need to sort of you could say, to build our future, to make us move forward. As you say, step by step, we need to go forward one step at a time, and what we can carry over, let's say, from this world to the next world is our experience. So what is that experience, Gregory? Is it the memories I'm just trying to think, is it everything that we have done on this earth that is carried forward in this experience? Or is it something more which are memorable things? I just want to get a picture of that.
The impressions that have had an impact on the spirit, that is the experience that it takes away. Those other impressions which had no impact on the spirit, that it can't take away because it has no impact. But that which has had a strong stamp on the spirit, that becomes its own personal knowledge that it carries over.
Okay, so that sounds to me that when we have had hard times, you know, where you had a struggle, you're not going to forget those type of things. And other times, maybe happy times, we're full of joy. I don't know I don't know if it's like a marriage or children, having the children. That's what people normally think, as if they're but I know they can't be the only happy memories. So this is the things that have an impact, I can say. And I'm thinking, Gregory, what else could be these? How can I think that will leave an impact? Is it achievements? I'm trying to think of what it could be. Any other? Is there any? I mean, yeah. Is it the big moments of joy and big moments of sadness?
Both.
Okay. All right. But it has to something. Let's say, as you say, stamps. I think you mentioned that it has to make a stamp on your spirit. So
Correct.
It has to be something deep, not just
happiness or sorrow makes a strong impact on the spirit.
Yes. Okay. And that's when to make you grow. Like I was saying when I started earlier in the show about the experience that I had, it's something, it touched me. I can call it, that is an impact on my spirit. And it made me reflect, and I said, no, I can't be this is not how it's supposed to be. I have to do something here, or reflect on what has happened here. And that's what, in a way, now it's turned into the show, the topic for this show, let's say. It come out like that. And then, as I say, I even received an inspiration to say, okay, there was a situation there, and how did I respond? I didn't have to respond that way. And how I can do that is to be conscious, to be aware of what is going on. And then I can now, being aware, act consciously rather than unconsciously, which was what you could say I was doing. So that's why it's so important. And that being living in the present, that's why when we pick this, how can I say, made the topic, the words of the topic, every word was said in that way. Be conscious in the present. Because conscious means normally when you say conscious, or you live in the present, if you say that, it's understood that you are there. But when I put these words together in this way, it's like every word, you could say, became alive, at least for me, to take it in seriously. So, okay. Now, Gregory, is it actually possible to be conscious all the time, in every moment, or only at moments? Because when I think of life, really, that's asking too much, I will say, to be conscious all the time, every moment. Is it possible?
No, it is not, because once the personality is asleep, that personality is not conscious of the physical or some of the physical activities around it because it is asleep. So if there is an ant, crawling by, you're not conscious of it.
You're talking, okay, so that's because we are sleeping,
Yes.
literally sleeping.
That's
I
why
got that.
when you said
Okay.
all the time, I said
Yeah,
no.
yes. Okay, let me not say it that way then. I'm talking when you are awake in the physical sense, uh, in let's say when your eyes are open. Let me say it that way. Um, uh, because nobody is let's say awake 24 hours a day. That we know that, but at least not normally. That's not normal. You supposed to sleep every day. So let's say when your eyes are open, I'm going to say it that way. I mean physically, then which means you're awake, at least physically you're awake. Can you be concentrating? I was thinking about the effort required to become conscious. Can we maintain that? Because our body needs rest. That's why we go to sleep, isn't it? So during the hours of being awake physically, can we maintain like a full consciousness all this time, or is there moments where in quotes we relax or become can we be alert all the time? Let me say like this, during the when we are awake physically.
It is possible to be alert all the time, say when the individual is not asleep. But again, being alert means that the individual is utilizing that which nature has granted it, the senses. So that means the individual is able to use its sight, the sense of sight, of touch. In fact, all these things, they are active. That's why you said the person is awake. Else, if they are not active, then that individual is, in quotes, asleep along that direction. If the sense of touch is no more functional, then that individual needs to go to the medical people to find out what is happening to it. Or the sense of taste is not there, then there is a problem. However, you will find that these are only channels to gather impressions which are passed on to the frontal brain before subsequently passed on to the back brain and then finally to the spirit. So you find that, yes, once the individual is awake even in the physical, then the senses, the adapters which he or she uses, are also active.
Thank you for that answer there, Gregory. That shows, because if you think very properly, the spirit never really sleeps. The body rests. So as long as the body is awake, then the spirit is always active, really. So if that's and because you have given already the process of how the spirit works through the body, the connection there, then you can understand that. I was saying to think a bit more about these experiences. So can we, trying to think, we're meant to be always awake, spiritually speaking, and I'm trying to think of the. So when we're having our experiences, what can I say? The attitude should be, Gregory, is we talked about having calmness, because then you act, like I said, Gregory, we have sometimes things happen and we act, let's say, out of anger or things which can disturb us, So I want to just say what attitude we should have in our ways that we can have the positive type of experiencing. Or maybe, Gregory, there are ups and downs in life. We just have to, accept that we can't. Let's say we can make mistakes. We can do mistakes. So, are we supposed to have like a, how can I say, perfect way of being spiritually awake, or there's just times when things will go wrong? Let's say.
There are always challenges for the individual in its everyday activities. The challenges are always there. Some of these challenges may be pleasant, or they could be unpleasant, depending on the inner attitude of the individual. Therefore, the individual must be open to allow these impressions, these external impressions, to sink in, such that is able to make use of it for subsequently the future. If the individual is not awake to such and had let these impressions slip by, then it lacks that experience that it may need to use before too long. So the experiences the individual gathers, these experiences are to enable it to mature in accordance with the laws of nature. Like I said, they may be pleasant or they may be unpleasant.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for that. Dear listeners, we've come to the end of our show tonight. Again, I just want to apologize for our late start. We were about 10 minutes late, and then a little bit later we had a sort of disruption as well. So I hope that didn't spoil your listening of the show. And I'm glad we warmed up in the end for the show. So hope you enjoyed that discussion on the topic of be conscious in the present and experience. And I'd like to now end the show again reading from the Grail Message. This time, which I would read usually, it is called the foreword of the Grail Message, which is titled "For Your Guidance." The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks
Yes, I can hear you.
okay. Definitely we are broadcasting, so I'm going to continue because we've ended coming to the end of the show pretty much. So, therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God, Aprushing. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back next week, Tuesday as usual, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with another topic. And hopefully the technology will not fail us, so you can listen to us and we'll be on time. So have a great week. Good night and God bless.